Hello my friends, and I'm excited to share with you this video teaching about the types of the different Alexander the Great coins available. My name is Ilya Zlobin. I'm an expert enthusiast and dealer in ancient coins, and I am welcoming you to explore the ancient coins of Alexander the Great and everything related to him, including some later coins with his portrait of the Roman times, and starting with the coins of his father, Philip II. First, before we get this started, I'm going to tell you that a lot of these coins, you see this reference work. I reference Price, right? Price 1505. There's another Price 1503, right? That is from this book, the Coinage in the Name of Alexander the Great and Philip Arrhidaeus in the British Museum by Martin Jessop Price. A lot of times that the author's name is given, it cites this reference work. So the British Museum has probably the largest coin collection in the world, and this specific book pretty much shows all of them with Alexander the Great's name. But let's first get started in the beginning. The first coin I'm going to show you is of Philip II, Alexander the Great's father. If you really think and go back to Alexander the Great, he actually had a father who never had the epithet of being great also, but he was also a great conqueror. Alexander the Great learned military skills fighting in battles with his father and controlling armies. So when his father passed on, he actually wound up having trained veteran military soldiers that he actually wound up using to conquer the world. So this coin of Alexander the Great's father, Philip II, features Apollo and a nude rider on a horse on the back. What's interesting about this coin type is that it actually commemorates his Olympic Games victory, because the Macedonian kingdom was in northern Greece, and many Greeks did not accept the Macedonians as true Greeks. But having been accepted into this Olympic Games, they wound up actually gaining a lot of prestige, and Philip II wound up minting his Olympic Games victory in horse racing competitions on his coins. So here's one coin, and now here's another type that's slightly more rare. Do you see the horseman facing left? This is a scarcer type than where there's a right facing head and the horseman facing left. And the rarest type of them would be left facing horseman and left facing head of Apollo. See, here's also an example of a silver coin of Philip II, also with a similar design. The larger coin, the tetradrachm, actually featured Zeus on it, on the front. Next, let's get to some coins of Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great's coins fall into several categories. There are his lifetime issues, which were struck during his brief reign. Think about it like this. Alexander the Great became king of the Macedonian kingdom in 336 BC. And he died at 33 years old in 323 BC. So we're talking about a 13-year period for him to have conquered the world. So this example of this coin, the tetradrachm, which is the larger silver denomination, and I would say the largest silver coin that was issued by him or other people, that was a regular issue as opposed to possibly an octadrachm, which was more of a commemorative, you could say. There are much rarer coins than this, of a larger example than this that he might have given his soldiers. So his coins featured his portrait wearing the lion skin headdress as if he was Hercules. And very interesting portrayal of him. And on the back you have Zeus holding the eagle. And to the right you see this text. it says Alexander the Great's name. So this coin was struck circa 325 to 315 BC. One of the things to note about coins of Alexander the Great lifetime issues is it's very easy to tell them apart, is that most of his lifetime issues, or early, even up to early Posthumous issues, have the Zeus's legs spread apart. You see this Zeus's legs spread apart. But a little bit later, after his death, as his named coins, you see he has Zeus is sitting cross-legged. So this is an interesting type from his lifetime. Very cool. After Alexander the Great's death, there were actually a lot of coinages that even featured his portrait, as with this coin of Lysimachus. Lysimachus was one of Alexander the Great's generals and successors. After Alexander the Great died in Babylon in 323 BC, his generals split up the empire into different regions and each ruled one. As an example, Ptolemy, General Ptolemy, wound up getting the dominions of ancient Egypt. The Seleucus I wound up getting dominions of what was the ancient Babylonian Empire up into India. Lysimachus wound up getting Thrace, and somebody else got Macedonia. So you see where I'm going here, that there were a lot of different areas, but a lot of them continued the tradition of minting coins with the Hercules Zeus motif for hundreds of years after Alexander the Great's death, because it became the monetary standard that the whole world accepted. This type of Lysimachus is interesting because it features the portrait of Alexander the Great with the horns of Zeus Ammon. To this day, the areas where Alexander the Great conquered, if you watch the film In the Footsteps of Alexander the Great, they picture him as the devil. Well, if they saw coins of Alexander the Great's portrait with horns, you obviously could make that correlation as if he was the horned devil himself. So Lysimachus coins did feature Alexander the Great's portrait on them. And see on the back here, it says it has Athena holding the victory. And you have the inscription Basileus, which means king. This is the Greek word for king. And on the other side, it says Lysimachus. So Lysimachus is his name on this side. So you could see that this is a coin of Lysimachus from circa 288 to 281 BC. So, as I mentioned, the coinage of Alexander the Great continued for hundreds of years past his death. So, yeah, it could be considered a coin of Alexander the Great, or a coin in the name, say it's in the name of Alexander the Great and Philip Arrhidaeus. Because, the name continued to be on the coin, even though there were a lot of other rulers available. Next, you see this coin from much later time period. We're talking about 120 to 90 BC, from the mint of Odysseus in Thrace, is an interesting stylized version of the tetradrachm of that time period. But it still has, see, Alexander's name, King Alexander. Same motif as you would see on this coin. There's also actually a couple of different variants. Some of them actually name the title king on them, like this one does, and others don't. To see all the different examples, you would probably want to get that book. The minting of Alexander the Great's coins continued into even the Roman times. In about 196 BC, Flaminius, a Greek someone from Rome that traveled to Greece wound up proclaiming the freedom of the Greeks. And this coin wound up featuring the portrait of Alexander the Great with loose flowing hair under Aeschylus, who was quaestor under the Romans of the province of Macedonia. And this was minted at Pella. So tetradrachm coin, very beautiful and still very interesting. So you're noticing that we're talking about 90 BC, and even until later, I'll show you a later coin from around 200s AD that also feature Alexander the Great's portrait. Now let's move on. Right here, I have what, as I mentioned, is a lifetime issue of Alexander the Great. You see the open legs. Now, let's actually move on to how you tell these different coins apart. Well, there are these different control marks underneath, in usually the left field and underneath the throne. There's a lot of different variants of them. You match them up with the book, and you could cite the reference. See, this one is Price 2088, and I included also a lot of different other references. And you see there's a monogram below the throne, and there's a thunderbolt in the field to the left. And yeah, when you look in the reference work, you're gonna see that this is a lifetime issue of the Miletos mint. Very interesting. Oh, notice also the open legs that are non-crossed. Next, here's another coin of the lifetime issue with the uncrossed legs. You see the forepart of the Pegasus, and you have a monogram below the throne, which is kind of interesting. Next, here's another lifetime issue. And notice how many different mints. We have Abydos mint, we have Miletos mint, we have another Miletos. So, beautiful coin. Next, we have another lifetime issue, which is interesting. Notice the different control marks in the open legs. Some of them continue the types, some of the kings continue the types of Alexander the Great with their names on them. Here is an example. This is a coin of Philip III, which was Alexander the Great's half-brother. So basically, they shared the same father, Philip II, but had different mothers. And this coin, you see, it looks very similar. But A, notice the crossed legs, and B, you see the name, it says Philippoi, Greek phi, and it says pretty much Philip. It has Philip's name on it. So this is a coin of Philip III in the style of coins of Alexander the Great, as you've seen here. So it's kind of interesting. So some of the examples that could be noted would be Philip III or somebody else like Lysimachus that struck coins as like these with their names in the right field like this. Here's another interesting coin. This is not a lifetime issue. Notice the crossed legs. There's a monogram in the left field, and it's also in really decent condition. Beautiful coin. So here's the difference between the drachma and the tetradrachm. The tetradrachm, which is this coin, would get changed. If you wanted to get changed for this coin, you will get 4 drachmas. So tetra means 4. Pretty much it means that this is a 4 drachma coin, and this is a single drachma coin, which is a standard of that they had. Next, let's move on to the bronze coins of Alexander. You see, Alexander struck coins in 3 metals: in gold, silver, and bronze. I don't have a physical gold coin to show you here as an example, but I took the liberty of printing out a beautiful picture of what a gold coin of Alexander the Great would look like. First off, obviously this is an enlarged picture, but we have to imagine the gold coin would probably be this size, about this size, but made of gold. The design on Alexander the Great's gold coin featured Athena on the front and Nike, the goddess of victory, on the back. Notice this text over here, Alexandroi, pretty much means Alexander. So Nike was the goddess of victory. And see, she's holding the wreath of success over here. And see, you have these different control marks for the different mints that struck the coins. So very interesting type to note here too. Now, moving back to the bronze coins of Alexander. I would say the most common bronze coin type of Alexander would be his bronze coin with, the Hercules, Alexander's Hercules in the front, and the bow and the club, which were the weapons of Hercules that Hercules used. And in the middle, it has the name of Alexander, Alexandroi, as you saw in the gold coin and the silver coins. Next, here's a variant of that type where it has a BA. BA stands for Basileus Alexander. Remember King Alexander? So that's an interesting type. So basically these bronze coins are arranged from the most common to the more scarcer and the more rarer types. This one features the head of the Gorgon. The Gorgon was the head of the Medusa that, when used in battle in mythology, she would freeze your enemies in place. So you have a coin with a shield with the head of the Medusa in the middle. Another way of putting it is it was an aegis, or another way of putting this head in the middle as a Gorgonian. Very interesting type. And in the back here you have the Macedonian helmet, the crested Macedonian helmet with the letters BA standing for Basileus Alexander. Very interesting. Next, we have a similar type, similar motif here, is we have the Macedonian shield with the thunderbolt in the middle. The thunderbolt symbology mimics or alludes to Zeus because he's the one that threw thunderbolts. So it's kind of interesting how, you have a thunderbolt in the middle. And again, you have the Macedonian helmet with the BA in the middle, and on the bottom, another thunderbolt, which is kind of interesting. Next, now we're getting into the slightly scarcer types of Alexander the Great. See, you got Hercules in the front, and you got the eagle on the back. Very interesting. Next, moving on, we have Alexander the Great coin with a horse. Notice it's similar to this type, but the horse doesn't have a rider on it. And you could read the text. It says Alexandroi on it, right? See? Very interesting. Now, this is probably the scarcest of the bronze coins that he issued. This doesn't even come up on auction, and this is in fantastic condition. It has the facing head of Hercules, or Alexander the Great as Hercules, in the middle of the shield. And in the back you have the helmet motif. So this is the more scarce type. And you have similar to that where the head of Hercules, or Alexander as Hercules, facing to the right. These kinds of types, or similar types, continued after his death too. See, Philip III, his half-brother. This coin has the shield with the caduceus at the center. This is a very scarce coin. And you have the Macedonian helmet on the back. Next, this coin is kind of interesting. This coin is of Egypt under Ptolemy I. He was the first ruler of the Ptolemaic line of Egypt. Cleopatra VII, the lover of Julius Caesar and Cleopatra and Mark Antony, she was the last of the line of kings that Ptolemy I founded, circa 305 to 283 BC, and we're talking about Cleopatra being in the 40s BC to the 30s BC, so she died in about 30 BC. So this coin features Alexander the Great, featuring like a headdress where instead of the lion skin of Hercules, he's wearing the elephant skin that basically alludes or points a reference to Alexander the Great's conquest in India. So he's wearing more of like an elephant headdress on it. So rather interesting. And in the back you have the eagle, and you have the name of King Ptolemy on the back. Next, in the circa 200s AD, Macedonia was under Roman control. However, the Romans, they were allowed the local cities to mint coins at times that did not have the emperor's portraits, or another way of putting it is they were pseudo and not autonomous. So they weren't really autonomous because a lot of them still paid tribute, but they got to issue coins a lot of times without emperor's portrait. So this coin features the flowing head of Alexander the Great, right? Well, without any helmet, and it's from circa 222 to 235 AD. Severus Alexander, guessing that he had the name Alexander, also Severus Alexander, he decided to have this, coin be allowed to be minted. And on the back you have the Athena holding up a Patera, which is kind of interesting. And it's in honor of the Macedonian koinon. Macedonia was a province at that time, and very interesting. So you have one type like that. You have another type. There's a lot of different variants here with the flowing hair again. Alexander the Great's name to the right. And this type is interesting because it features Alexander the Great on his legendary horse Bucephalus, riding right heroically. What's interesting about the horse Bucephalus is that Alexander the Great tamed this horse when he was just much younger. And this horse traveled all the way up to northern India, where it wound up dying at one point. And Alexander the Great wound up founding a city in honor of the name of his horse, and he called it Bucephalia. So that's very interesting and a very beautiful motif. You also see this motif on a mosaic from ancient Pompeii that was made of Alexander. So the Romans admired it, and so we're talking about from ancient Pompeii from circa 70s AD, when Pompeii erupted, when that mosaic was still visible on the wall. This is an interesting coin. See, flowing hair, and on the back is a motif of two temples. Very important. And now, last but not least, is a coin that mimics or looks to the ancient bronze coins of Alexander the Great from his lifetime. Of Alexander the Great wearing the Hercules, as Hercules wearing the lion skin headdress. You see it says Alexandrov. Again, Alexander. So, very interesting, huh? And on the back, you have the agonistic prize table. So, this is a prize table that was in honor of the Olympic-style games that were in a province at that time. So, having gone through this beautiful collection over here, you have familiarized yourself with the ancient coins available. So now is a good time for you to thumb up this video, visit my website, and check out other coins of Alexander the Great. There's a link below this video to an article with pictures of these coins, and for you to be able to see all the coins that I have available in my eBay store. So I'm looking forward to dealing with you soon, my friends, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.